So why don't we go to the next piece? I'm going to drill us down on the Mark submission here, and then I'm going to send you out with activities to perform. We'll break you up, but we're not right yet. Irene will hand these out, because if we hand these out too early, they're going to look at those in rustled papers. First mark of mission. Remember I said the first mark of mission, and I won't turn it off this time. The first mark of mission is very much people-oriented, action, to proclaim the good news of the kingdom. Now, more easy to understand, share the good news, but put these things against these three first statements. And then I'm going to ask you to, in your group, what is your congregation currently doing vis-a-vis the first mark? What can your congregation do better? And whether your building is helping or hindering. Let's just go on to the other ones. Second mark, same type of thing. Just flip through them rather quickly. Again, the same process here. A bit further, third mark of mission, same type of stuff. Fourth mark, same type of stuff. The fifth one I'm going to spend a bit more time on because it's my mark of mission that I really concentrate on. Let's go to the next one here. So there are some really, really good websites to get information from. One is Faith in the Common Good, the organization that I come in chair. Greening of Sacred Spaces being one of the programs. Why don't we just hit on that website so you can navigate yourself around it. Again, it's a multi-faith website with all sorts of resources about planting gardens, about music, about all sorts of other initiatives that and resources that you could utilize, including green audits. And I'm authorized to offer 2 subsidized green audits to the Diocese of Fredericton. One has been spoken for, hasn't it? Cathedral. If anybody else is interested in green audit, they are anywhere between $1,000 and $1,500. The National Church will offset the 2/3 of the cost. And what these green audits are is that a green auditor engineer who really knows faith buildings will come in and help you improve your environmental performance, i.e. your energy performance of your building and a number of the practices that you do, etc. But walk around with a team of 4 or 5 people from your congregation who will start to understand the building as a system and be able to reduce your costs as well as reducing the impact on the environment at the same time. So you're going to have to come up with 1/3 of the cost. So you might have to come up to as much as $500, but whatever 2/3 of the cost is. You're number 2? Oh my gosh, see? Oh, what's the congregation? Which? Well, there we go. You know, being fast to act has its advantage as such. Being the cathedral has its own advantage because we chatted about in the car. But it doesn't. That's before the end of December, okay? Because as we roll into next year, it all becomes available again. But it takes a while sometimes to get the congregation together. The objective is to form a team that understands the building as a system, starts implementing various things and reducing their cost. Right? So this is the website for Faith in the Common Good. I don't know whether you've seen this poster before. I'll just go down a bit further. It is actually the Green Rule. And so it talks about because it's one of the things about creation, all the faiths have something about creation and care for it as well. And so that's one of the very common areas that you can work on with other faith groups. I don't mean just other denominations, I mean other faith groups. I was emceed something at a Buddhist temple recently, and it was incredible some of the stuff they were doing. And anyway, so this poster may be up in some of your churches. I don't know. They're up in a fair number of places. Now, what we do is establish a green team, Faith in the Common Good, Green Sacred Spaces facilitator in various areas where they need to be. It could be attached to the diocese, or it could be attached to just to the area here and shared multi-faith wise. But we'll help you with a bunch of things as well. So. Anyways, that's that website. There's also a certification program, whereas it's multi-faith. That certification program was established in Huron Diocese of the Anglican Church. So it looks at certifying your buildings as such. Why don't we go? Here's the national website. We're just doing the website here. I'm just telling you where you can find resources here before we see some more videos with good sound. So there's Creation Matters nationally. We have liturgical resources. We have a staff person that supports us through the Public Witness for Social and Ecological Justice. We cover a whole bunch of different things. Just keep scrolling down. Not quite so fast. Sunday school resources, Season of Creation. There's a bit of a movement some places to actually add an additional liturgical season, or at least informally, if not formally. Watch a Church Go Green. That was St. Luke's one. But there's a bunch of subsidized audit stuff. There's a new poster out that is downloadable you can use. That's very Anglican in its focus. It was came out of the Diocese of Toronto, etc. And there's a bunch of vignettes on on Anglican congregations have gone through green audits, what value it's been for them, how easy to have it done it was, and what it's created and stimulated. And then there's a footprint calculator for your footprint, environmental footprint of your church. Okay, so let's go to the next click here. We'll go to the Ottawa Diocese website, and we'll click some videos from there. So why don't we go to Green Audit?
The Green Audit is a process of us looking at the church and the way that the church relates to the environment, specifically the way that we use energy and the products we use.
The Green Audit, which we're doing with the Greening of Sacred Spaces organization, looks at the various operations of the church building itself and identifies areas where we can reduce energy, where we can reduce water consumption, where we can improve the air quality of the building as well.
Many of our churches are old, very old, and many of them are not particularly environmentally friendly just because of their age.
The Green Up database is a project that we're doing with the Canada Green Building Council, and it's a way for us to measure the baseline of how our church is operating now.
And that's the same organization that certifies the environmental performance of a wide variety of buildings in their construction as well as in their operation. But what it really does is establishes our baseline so that year after year, as we make improvements, we can see progress being made.
And for us to be able to see if we make changes, like green changes, that it's making improvements. Yeah.
So here we are in the nave at St. Luke's. And this building, it was renovated some years ago. We're an urban parish. There's very little parking. We have to make maximum use of space, almost like a ship. Every corner is used for storage of some kind. We're able to identify clearly some immediate financial benefit. Our furnace, it's so old and hasn't been cared for and outdated, and filters haven't been changed, that we're just been throwing money out the window, hand over fist.
This is a 22-year-old furnace. When it was put in place, it was actually not a very high efficiency furnace. Efficiency is 80%, theoretically. It's been so badly maintained, I'm sure there's probably operating maybe down 50 to 60% efficiency. So half of the energy, or almost half of the energy that we put in here, doesn't actually get turned into heat.
The front door, it's just bleeding out air. I mean, everyone kind of knew that, but it's kind of like a loony dispenser all day long in the winter here.
We're here at the entrance of St. Luke's Church, and we have this big door here, which has a lot of gaps. Which means that the cold air is coming in, and we're losing a lot of the heat and the energy that we're using.
One of the things we found in the audit as well is that we have this room which has a cooling system in it. And right below it, we have a freezer and a refrigerator whose motor creates heat. And they just go round and round. One is to cool the heat that's made. And the thing is, this room requires neither, because these are dry goods.
If we have 10 chips and we're spending 4 chips on heating the place, now we're spending 1 chip on heating the place, and we can put the rest into our ministry.
I think there is a responsibility for those who profess to be Christian to take a significant interest in the sustainability of the environment.
The wonderful thing about this program is that there are resources out there that will have effects on your bottom line as a church. This is clear, concrete data that you and I can look at and make conscious decisions and choices about the future of this building, but not even just this building, the future of the church as a whole.
We in the Western religious traditions need to get back to that kind of fundamental understanding of how we live with each other and with creation.
So please join us and other congregations across the country in the Green Audit and the Green Up database. There's funding available.
Our green audit became the starting point for us to do our vision and our multi-year plan, which led us to a funding campaign that exceeded its target by 140% based off of the audit and the visioning process, etc., that came out of that. So why don't we hit the green audit update?
So this St. Luke's is located in Chinatown in Ottawa. We're very blessed to have this place that promotes a vision of total inclusivity. We're trying to respond to the needs of the community and the needs of a parish. We had to lay out the fact that we just can't continue as we are. We need to grow. We need to make better use of this space. We need to maximize our ministry per square foot just to be relevant.
We replaced the old windows here. They were wood frame, broken glass, wire screen on the outside of them with these new energy efficient, well-sealed windows. Two purposes here. One, from the interior, it's much lighter inside. Not only does it save energy, but it's also much lighter and friendly inside here. And from the exterior, it sure looks a lot more friendly than the mesh grate security things we had on the windows previously.
We're able to identify clearly some immediate financial benefit. Our furnace, it's so old and hasn't been cared for and outdated, and filters haven't been changed, that we're just been throwing money out the window hand over fist.
Yeah, one of the significant expenses of any operation is the heating of the building. These are quite large buildings. In our environmental audit, our furnace performance was lower than it should have been. It was installed as a natural gas furnace 22 years ago, but actually, as we found out, it was probably a 50-year-old furnace that originally was run on heating fuel. What we have done is put a high-efficiency furnace in here that's much better sized for the space that it's required to heat.
The front door, it's just bleeding out air. I mean, everyone kind of knew that, but it's kind of like a loony dispenser all day long in the winter here.
We're here at the entrance of St. Luke's Church, and we have this big door here, which has a lot of gaps, which means that the cold air is coming in, and we're losing a lot of the heat and the energy that we're using. So the cold air from the door downstairs is kind of funneling up through this long channel and then through these doors, which are also not sealed very well, and it kind of gets sucked through and then goes straight up there.
This is the tower. It's the entrance through which people come for the services. Previously, we were heating it with electrical heat, but there's no purpose to heat this. The walls were not insulated, the exterior door was not insulated, nor was the ceiling. So what we've done is cleared all the clutter out of here, made it much more lighter with paint tones, as well as put a nice floor in here. And these interior doors, we can see them, it's much more inviting.
We've replaced the door, that door that was the loony dispenser where all the heat went out through, cracks everywhere, with this glass one. It's insulated, it is well sealed, the drafts aren't getting in, but also importantly, it is glass and people can see in. It's less of a barrier for people to engage with us. It does that exteriorly, but interiorly it also makes it much brighter inside.
If we have 10 chips and we're spending 4 chips on heating the place, now we're spending 1 chip on heating the place, and we can put the rest into our ministry.
The way that we love and create and nurture creation and manifest creation is like, as St. Maximus says, is like an echo, is the echo of God's love in creating creation. Man's response is an echo of that love in the way that we care for and help manifest the fullness of life within all of creation around us.
be strong, take heart. You're probably wondering why there doesn't seem to be that many people in the congregation during the photos. We were actually in the middle of a snowstorm when the videographer was available, and people couldn't even get out of their houses. So we had probably the congregation down, for that particular service, down about a quarter of what they normally are. But we had to go ahead because our guy was from Los Angeles. We just couldn't have him come back another weekend. So that gives you an idea. Now, interestingly, I would say, is that your diocese has a requirement, according to the General Synod of 2013, to actually create a Creation Matters group in your diocese. It's Resolution A170R1, if you want to check that, which was proposed by Bishop Bird from Niagara and seconded by Bishop John Chapman from Ottawa. It refers to creating a Creation Matters group, plus also giving it a pool of funding to work on these issues. Bishop, as you're walking away. Oh, good, actually, because you're going to say, yay! Anyways, but what has happened is that the dioceses have been adding onto it, and the most recent one was Calgary, and it's interesting. We're finally getting people from Alberta diocese getting into Creation Matters. And what we do from a national perspective is the chair of each of these committees sit on a national board, which I chair, and we share new things that we do, new programs, new examples, new encouragements, work on joint policy development type of thing, engage parishes to make sure they apply for subsidized green audits, share a bunch of stuff. For example, the poster on creation care in the Fifth Markham Mission was created in the Diocese of Toronto, but all of a sudden became national in nature. Videos that we do in the Diocese of Ottawa become national in nature. Some of the stories from other places become national in nature. So if you're trying to promote something, you don't have to just create the promotion from your scratch in your own area out here. So I trust that soon we'll have somebody appointed as the chair for Creation Matters New Brunswick, Fredericton Diocese, and that there will be people working with them, and they will come. That person will sit on some of our conference calls, which are about every 6 weeks, and there's a lot of back and forth support, particularly with the emerging piece that really it's only the Fifth Markham Mission that we actually talk about property and things of physical nature, and that's where some of the work that Kathy Campbell's doing in St. Matthew's in Winnipeg is coming out of, and we're in a process of actually putting together for next year at the national level a program to really promote mission per square foot. That you've seen some of the genesis of it here. It really relates to helping to create partnerships to help make our buildings more feasible, both from their operation, but also having more people in there as well. So why don't we get off of that website and back? But please visit this or the national website or Greening of Sacred Spaces. There's lots of resources there for you. And so let's go to the next line. So basically, I'm going to set you out to do these things, but looking at each Markham mission, how it pertains to your building. Go a bit further. Before that, let's go back. Let's send people out, and we'll talk. This is my $6,000 battery. Neat, eh? $6,000 battery. It's a 9-volt battery. Some of the things you can do is very simple. This is a battery from a thermostat control. You should replace them annually. I've been getting a lot of complaints at this. You think I know what I'm doing, but I don't really. Sometimes in the building, I think St. Luke's had it all set. We keep finding things, okay? And some are simple. And people are complaining about, this thermostat. It's the air conditioning's coming on when it's in the winter, and we're pushing it around. And the heat was on in the summer. We're pushing these buttons, and I just can't get it to work. Well, you can always get a trickle bit of energy into it through the system, so it looks like the little screen has some lights in it. Well, these are good for a year. Somebody had a lot of foresight, okay? They decided, since it was good for a year, they'd mark the date on it. And this is absolutely real. November 19th, 2007 is when it was replaced. And I found that about a month ago. So it's been dead for 6 years. I figure it is probably wasted $1,000 worth of electricity in those 6 years. So this is my $6,000 battery. Now, it's as simple as that sometimes, okay? And what I mean is that even as it might pertain to the fifth mark of mission being as simple as that, but some of the other things are as simple as that, as well as you think of what these things are. They don't have to be humongous, earth-shattering things. And I'll share something else before we send you back to this. Is that during the break, someone came up and said to me, well, I just thought of something in a rural area. We have a number of points, and one of these points of the parish where there's a building, maybe it's sort of out in the country, and what if we use that for a particular type of worship, maybe with even out the building? What if it's an outdoor worship scenario? Have you ever heard of that? And I should tell you the rest of the tipping over the back at the outhouse thing. Part of it was, what we then allowed us to do was use the space beyond there, so where we would have been stung, or it stunk, or there were raccoons. We had a little woodlot behind there. We brought in stones and made a stone altar, cleared out the woodlot a little bit with the maples, and we held 4 services a year outdoors. One being St. Francis, blessing of the animals, and people would show up with their horses. People would show up for that service who would never come through the doors of the church itself. There's things you can do. So, just thinking out of the box. Now, missional plan. I think I made the point earlier that it's just going out about, let's do something for the building. In absence of a missional plan, it's folly. Because I'd like to come up with the right type of thing to do with your building, and I gave you that example of Kitchissippi United. They made the wrong choice and lost people over it. I also think you need a 5-year business plan. How many of you have business plans? Oh, goodness. You need a 5-year business plan along with a 5-year missional plan. You do long-term in the missional plan, needs to be a corresponding 5-year business plan. When your expenditures are going to happen, what purpose, the rationale, so they're not just knee-jerk reactions, needs vestigial or something should happen or not. That does take a bunch of time, but interestingly, you'll probably find resources that you hadn't expected that can help you with that. I mean, that's why we use the executive MBA program at the University of Ottawa. We did in St. Luke's. But we found as well as we were growing a congregation, a fair number of executive people with those type of experience showed up to be able to do that type of thing. So the 5-year business plan, of course, has to be associated strategic plan. Business plan is financial aspect. What is the sequence of things happening? That's a 1 to 2 year process. So, if you're going to say, let's do X, all the questions why, you have to have all those why questions thought of and answered ahead of time. Let's go into the next piece. So you've gone through this process of engaging your parish, engaging your community broadly, and you said, okay, let's do something different to the building. There's several options, of course, and all these take time. Dispose of the building. That could be 2 to 5 years. So that's not that quick. Lease it out to somebody else, maybe 2 to 3 years. Redevelop, rejuvenate, 8 to 10 years. This place took probably 10 years here. I asked that question earlier. I know the cathedral in Ottawa was a 10-year process. Again, it's about getting people in the same place and getting new partnerships and financing and this and that and discovering what everybody else is doing. what are the best practices. It takes a while to get there. One of the reasons I'm talking about these timelines is sometimes when you're, running deficits and you can just sort of, take what you got left in your reserves and divide it by the annual deficit. You know that you've got X number of years. Do you have the time to wait and futz around before you start your process or not? Redeveloping and rejuvenating, can you do it by yourself or can you do it with partners? And I think I'll link back to the fact that I said earlier that it doesn't always have to be everybody within your congregation providing all the resources. Who are your partners to do that? And part of the buy-in process, getting the buy-in, one of the things that's worked well is a design charrette. Anybody know what a design charrette is? It's a very intensive day where volunteers come in. It can be architects, developers, community people. People don't ever come through your door. People who live by near you but don't really do anything particularly with the building. And there's some background information sent out to people at a time, and then they do a design charrette, reimagining what the space could be. And it doesn't mean that you've got architectural designs at the end of it, but it really starts the process. It also starts eliminating some of the blue sky stuff. It's blue sky, but with a bit of modification to it. And you bring people on the teams, and they come back and say, "Oh, we could do this, we could do that." But it really gets people thinking about the building, but it also gets them to think what would be appropriate designs and context for it. That's what a design charrette is, and you'll find actually that architects like volunteering for these types of things. They like those creative days and processes. I'll give you the All Saints Sandy Hill story. And it's about getting real here. All Saints Sandy Hill, I think, was one of the congregations in Ottawa that ended up, after 4 years of going through it, decided to walk over to a much smaller building. Super huge, because it's at 350. A hall that could have 300 kids in it. Said they haven't had any Sunday school there for forever. And anybody could have told you, except the congregants themselves, that there ain't a hope in, that this is ever going to work out. They also had $6.5 million worth of repairs absolutely necessary to the church. Then they built a very heavy building in a place called Sandy Hill. And it should never have been built. They had foundation issues for forever. And they always say, we have such a unique space. They wanted people to appreciate our space. They can, they'll be here. That's all our acoustics are great. It's just everybody's just going to eventually come to some magical spot and imagine how great a space we have. And it'll be all okay again. And that was like 4 years ago. Everybody that wasn't so attached emotionally couldn't just say, hey, this ain't going to work out for you. You're down to 30 parishioners. How can you support this place? Anyways, one of the getting real things about it was there was a study done by a university summer student, sort of a geography student that did, a bit of, what's in the neighborhood, And here I'll ask you this question. They did a 2.5 kilometer circle around All Saints Sandy Hill. Interesting, some of that area was taken up by parkland and river or whatever, so it wasn't like a densely populated area for 2.5 kilometers. Absolutely, but there was, stuff in it. How many other faith group buildings were there within that 2.5 kilometers? Any guesses?
13.
71.
Oh.
We're so unique. Everybody's going to appreciate us. They're going to be here because we're unique. You ain't unique, okay? You got to get real about this type of stuff. And so All Saints Sandy Hill, 4 years later, after running these major deficits for 4 years, that could have been used on better things, but they weren't ready yet. God bless them. All 15 of them had wound down to walked across the bridge and joined with St. Margaret's, which was about 1/8 the size of the building. And so, what they said after that, we realized finally that the church is the people and not the building. But man, what a relief. Okay? Last slide, existing resources. I talked about stuff and shown you about stuff. Faith in the common good, creating sacred spaces. There we go. Here's one I haven't talked about. The United Church, realizing the same type of problem at the national level, has established something called EDGE. There's a URL for that. Do we need an Anglican Church Canada equivalent, which is to help congregations? Because you do it once, well, you learn some stuff. But if you're doing it more frequently, you can help people better because you could create a SWAT team here from Church of Canada. I'm having a discussion with the Primate and the General Secretary about that. Month of November shortly, like, do we need to create that type of resource that can help? You know? And then the emerging stuff, I talked to you about that, a little bit about Heritage Canada, working with them as well to see if we, particularly the heritage case stuff, we can actually help troubleshoot some of the heritage problems, but also help create feasible congregations through partnerships, feasible activities happens in the building, so that actually some of the heritage can be built. Again, it's not dissimilar to maybe something you want to try in the church. And this thing I talked about, which is community land trust and trust funds. There are people who want to help, and I would say there's this category of folks that are looking fairly well off, people well accomplished, in their 50 to 70 year age range. They have financial resources, experience. They're looking for a cause nobilis, a noble cause in which to contribute. We have to find, and they're not necessarily attending our faith meetings or worship services, but they wouldn't mind stepping in on homelessness and affordable housing and things like that and working with us. The last slide is next steps, but I'm going to hand that over to the bishop here to talk about what he's heard and what this may mean for the diocese, what he's heard from you and what it may mean for the diocese.